I hope you guys had an amazing long weekend. Welcome to your Wednesday math lesson. So in our last lesson, we actually finished up algebra. So we did algebra with blanks, and then we did it with variables. We did multiplying and dividing and how to figure out like opposite integers and things like that. So for example, we had d divided by 7 is equal to 3. We had to figure out what 3 was. So in order to figure that one out, you took these two numbers and you multiplied them together, because 7 times 3 equals 21. 21 divided by 7 is equal to 3. And then we also talked about how if your variable is on the bottom, so if you have, let's try another number. If we have 48 divided by d is equal to, is equal to 6. How do we figure that one out? Well, basically we just switch these two around. So I switch d and 6 around, so I have 48 over, and I put 6 at the bottom, and that is equal to d. So I basically do 48 divided by 6, which gives me 8, and 8 is equal to d. So we were doing that in the last week. So today we're actually moving on to a new unit on probability. So what we're going to do today is with probability spinners, and we're going to try to figure out what is the likelihood of an outcome. So if I give you this spinner right here, if we were to use a pencil and a paper clip and spinning it around, we are trying to determine the probability that it will land on a certain color. So that's supposed to be red. And we have our last color here. So what I'm trying to do is figure out the probability of my paper clip or an arrow or something landing on a certain color. Well, what happens when all 4 colors are the same size? We have a whole circle, and each part of the circle is divided into 4 equal sections. What would be the probability of me landing on blue? So what's the probability of landing on blue? It is 1/4, because the blue section here takes up 1/4 of the circle. What about landing on red? What's the probability of landing on red? Well, again, red takes up 1/4 of this circle. So if I spin a spinner, it has 1 in 4 chances, as in if I spin the spinner 4 times, 1 out of the 4 of them should land on red. What about green? So green, whoops. What's the probability of landing on green? Well, again, green takes up 1/4 of the circle, so 1/4 of a chance. And the same goes for yellow. I know that if 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals a whole, so I'm not missing anything else. So if I spin the spinner 4 times, technically, in one of those 4 times, I should land on blue. If I spin it 4 times, one of those 4 times, I should land on red. Spin it 4 times, one of those times, I should land on green, and same with yellow. I should land on yellow if I spin it 4 times. So I should land on each color once if I spin it 4 times. What it means when I say it should land on this, it's called theoretical probability. So theoretical probability is if I look at a spinner and I can see, oh, each part of this circle is 1/4. Takes up 1/4 of a circle. And if I say, okay, we have 4 different colors, it should land on each color at least once if I spin it 4 times. It doesn't mean it actually will. So theoretical probability is basically saying like it should do this, but then we have another kind of probability called experimental. Experimental probability is when we actually conduct it. So if I took a spinner and actually spun it around 4 times, I may not land on one color at least 4 times. Maybe I land on blue twice. So if I record it, if I use a tally chart, such as blue, red, green, and yellow, I'm going to spin the spinner 4 times. Let's say it lands on blue once, it lands on red once, and then it lands on green twice. Well, it didn't land on each color 1 out of the 4 times. It landed on green twice. So this is what I mean by experimental probability, is that sometimes when you conduct it, that might not be the outcome. Think about it as flipping a coin. If I flip a coin once, there's half of the chance that it'll land on heads, the other half is that it'll land on tails. So if I flip a coin, my chances should be 50-50, and that's what I mean by 50-50, as in I have half a chance of it landing on heads, half a chance of it landing on tails. Not of it landing on its side, that's like a 1 in a million chance. But let's say I flip a coin 10 times and I think, oh, it should land 5 times on heads and 5 times on tails. But then I actually do the experiment and it lands 6 times on heads and 4 times on tails. So today we're talking more about theoretical probability, and this is what we're going to be doing a big focus on with our probability unit, is theoretical. Is we're going to look at things like spinners, we're going to look at dice and coins and things like that, and we have to determine how often it should land on a certain thing. So today you're just doing intro and you have some basic spinners. Another spinner could be, if I erase all of this, will be, what if I have letters instead of colors that I'm trying to land on? So if I have, oh boy. So if I draw another spinner, and I have 4 sections, and let's say I have A, E, L, and M. What if a question asks me, what are the odds of landing on A? Well, A takes up 1/4 of the circle, so I know it's 1/4. L is going to be 1/4, E is going to be 1/4, and M is going to be 1/4. What if a question asks me, what are the chances of me landing on a vowel? Well, what are my vowels on this? I have A is a vowel, and what are my vowels? A, E, I, O, U. I have an A, and I have an E, so I have 2 vowels. So what are the chances of me landing on a vowel? Well, there's 2 vowels out of 4 sections, so technically it's 2 out of 4, or what's an equivalent to 2 out of 4 is 1 out of 2, because you see these 2 vowels here, they take up half the circle, so I have half a chance of landing on a vowel. What about a consonant? So a consonant is any letter that is not a vowel. What are my chances of landing on a consonant? Well, I have 1 consonant here and the other consonant is here. So what are my chances of landing on that? It is 2/4, because there's 2 sections out of 4 of an even circle that are consonants, or 1/2. The other half of the circle is consonants. So what you're going to have today is going to be a very simple worksheet that has a couple spinners on there, and it's going to ask you questions like what's the probability of landing on this? What's the likelihood of landing on this? Why might this be true? Or a case of, oh, I have a better chance of landing on blue than red, but blue and red are equal sizes. Is this true? It's going to be questions like this, just to get used to doing probability again, before Friday, where we get into our next step, where it's going to be a little bit tougher, although still fairly, it should still be pretty easy for you guys. So this is more of our review from doing probability in the past. So this is what we're doing today. It's just going to be one simple worksheet. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. Make sure to kind of go outside and everything. The weather's supposed to be nice. I hope you guys had a fantastic long weekend. Be sure to email me if you have any questions whatsoever. And I will see you on Friday otherwise.